Columbus, Ohio, the site of the 2024 MLS All-Star Game. But today, it's all about who's next. The MLS Next All-Star Game, East versus West, a celebration of the best young players in the region, the future of the national teams, the future of Major League Soccer, the future stars on the global scene will be on display here at historic Crew Stadium. I'm David Goss alongside MLS Season Pass analyst Devin Kerr, and we are so excited for this one. These players have been here all week. They are ready for this. Devin, this is your first MLS Next All-Star Game. How excited are you?
Who wouldn't be excited to see the best and brightest that our country has to offer at the academy level, right? The future stars of tomorrow. 28 different MLS academies represented. For the first time in history, David, we're going to see 6 different MLS Next academies represented as well. More than half of these players have already signed either a homegrown contract or appeared at the MLS Next Pro level. But the number is 1. The number is 1, the one player that everybody is talking about right now that has made an appearance at the senior level, and that's Cavan Sullivan with the Philadelphia Union. My big takeaways from that appearance as a substitute in the second half was confidence. This is a guy who you heard about at the academy level, and as he moved his way through to the second team, was built on confidence, but at the senior level did not lack that. Very impressive in his first outing.
Let's go down to the sideline for the third member of our crew, MLS Season Pass analyst Andrew Wiebe.
Guys, confidence comes with comfort level, and Cavan is perfectly comfortable in his surroundings in Philadelphia, whether it's at the MLS Next level where he's dominated, MLS Next Pro where he's starting to make his mark, or in Major League Soccer. Just think of the connections. His older brother Quinn scoring a goal before he could even get on the field for his debut at 14 years old. His coach, Jim Curtin, was coached by his dad, who currently works in the academy setup as well. Cavan is poised to explode on this team, and he's just one of many. There are 18 alums of this game that have already played MLS minutes. These are future pros competing against each other today. Can't wait to see how they do. Back up to you.
Yeah, Andrew, it's going to be a fun one. Devin, we've talked about the stats. Let's talk about the names as we take a look at our starting lineups, and we start with the Eastern Conference.
There's a ton of players that you're going to want to keep an eye on today, but I'm going to hone in on a few in this starting 11. Drew Baera, the outside back on the right side for the East, a guy who already has 4 senior appearances for NYCFC as a homegrown, all in Open Cup play, but he's got a good understanding of the game. I love his explosiveness coming off that right-hand side. As you move into the midfield, Liam Briscoe, captain of the U16 team that won MLS Next Cup with FC Delco, also MLS Next Best 11. That's one of the best 11 in the country at his age. And then for me and my money, the 9 up top, and Chase Adams, a guy that currently has 10 appearances overall for Crew 2, doing great things, leading them with 5 goals and an assist, can absolutely fly up top in that striker position. Matteo Tsakiris, he brings a little bit of a different flavor, we'll say, from the West. Start on the back line, Owen Pratt, probably one of my most favorite players to watch today. And yes, it is a goalkeeper. 6'2", explosive, about 0.5 goals against average. A guy that won an MLS Next Cup champion with the Galaxy U17s, also a best 11, and named the best goalkeeper overall in that tournament. His son, Matteo Tsakiris, in the midfield. Love him. His brother already performing well at the senior level for San Jose and the US U20s. He captained that Galaxy U17 team that won the MLS Next Cup champ. And then Max Eisenberg up top, currently leading the Timbers U17 squad with 15 goals in the 2024 season. What you're going to see from a lot of these guys is a ton of individual talent, but being together for the first time. How does that gel over the next 90 minutes together?
A special day for these young players and these coaches. You mentioned it. Matteo Tsakiris, the head coach for the LA Galaxy, winning the U17 MLS Next Cup for the 2nd straight year. They are the team that has the most players here. Devin, 3 of those Galaxy players in the starting lineup. An all-star game is tough. You don't know people. Yeah. How key is that going to be for the Western Conference?
Advantage for sure, right? The opportunity to recognize the patterns of play that you're going to have with your friends and where the movements need to be. Certainly the direction that you're going to get on the sideline from your manager. But let's not forget it. This is about fun too, right? Like an opportunity to see what you're made of. It's one thing to recognize some of the talent that's been around you and have the manager to provide familiarity, but the opportunity to go up against some of the best players in the country, that doesn't come around every day. They should have a lot of pride at the chance that's being given to them right now.
The ceremonial coin toss with one of our All-State representatives, Taylor Twellman. out there on the field. Our head official, Josh Bronstein, getting ready to get this started. Sam Kogan and Akash Ravapati, our assistant referees, and Eddie Morales, our fourth official for this one. As you see, the Western Conference head coach, John Tsakiris, that we mentioned. He's got one son playing for the San Jose Earthquakes, who scored already in U20 CONCACAF World Cup qualifying this week, and another son out there on the field. What a special moment for him. And on the other side, Columbus's head of youth development, Dan Locke, the head coach for this group. He helped build the Charlotte FC Academy. He was also in charge of the Seattle Academy back in the day. And Devin, one of the things that changes so quickly in MLS Next is as each team sort of ramps things up. Columbus is like the new darling on the street. They're a great host for this All-Star game, but this is an academy that was one of them on the bottom half of the league, and now they are pushing players into the first team and pushing players into the national team.
Well, it's more impressive to me because it's not just the fact that they're pushing players, but the administrative staff above them is changing as well, right? So you had Wilfred Dancy that came in. Then, of course, is the crew two manager that takes off to Montreal, Courtois. And so you're constantly moving what your vision pieces are supposed to be, and yet the excellence still remains. To me, that's the biggest takeaway here, because getting good players is one thing. Continuing to be able to develop them and have a constant vision, that's another. Crew have done a very good job of doing so.
Aidan Morris, of course, on his way over to England, a homegrown player for this Columbus team, and historic Crew Stadium, our site for this one of the first soccer stadiums in the history of the United States, and an opportunity now to host this game, something we've never done before until 2022, and now has become a yearly tradition for the best young players to be on display here at this one. David Goss and Devin Kerr with you as we get ready to kick off a full 90-minute match here. If tied, we would go straight to penalties. Eastern Conference versus Western Conference here at Crew Stadium and on MLSsoccer.com. Andrew Wiebe down on the sideline with us as well. And we are kicked off here at the 2024 MLS Next All-Star Game, presented by Allstate, the Eastern Conference, going right to left on your screens in the white kits, and the Western Conference going left to right on your monitors in the blue kits. MLS Next, of course, the premier youth development league in North America. Teams from Canada and the United States a part of it, every MLS academy. And you mentioned it, Devin, history this year, 6 non-MLS, MLS Next academies that have sent players to this All-Star game. FC Delco winning a championship at the U16 level, as well as Strikers from California, one of the powerhouses, winning at the U19 level.
As if the Strikers and FC Delco needed a little bit notoriety to go into that banner of theirs. That has been excellence of, what, decades now. You know, teams that established themselves a long time ago in the American pyramid at the youth level, and, you know, pushing guys into the senior ranks. Now an opportunity to push that a little bit higher. And that threshold continues to expand with the growth of the game in this beautiful country and the ability to harness that talent as well. You know, we talked about the managers within Crew and maintaining their success even with the changes and new players coming in. Can you imagine being a team like Delco, being a team that is outside of initially the MLS umbrella and then coming into it? Just gives you that extra bump of opportunity, of resources to help continue to develop these players.
And of course, that umbrella growing all of these players now in the MLS system because of MLS Next, an opportunity to play at the highest level here in the United States. Opportunity now for the Eastern Conference to knock it around, the first chance of the game. And Briscoe, one of those players coming from FC Delco, U16 MLS Next Cup champions. Michael Capretti as well in this side as part of that Delco group, scored 11 goals in the Next Cup playoffs, including against Real Colorado in the championship, as now an opportunity to break forward for the Western Conference. Looking for the first chance of the game, the slide tackle in the box. Still alive, dribble it over the end line and out for a goal kick. The big slide tackle there, though, from Kai McLean of Inter Miami.
Yeah, excellent recovery. Max Eisenberg questioning himself just a little bit. Thought maybe he had some support after the pressure on the near touchline. Love his explosion right down through the middle, but great closure. And then that little peek right there off the touch. Really well done by Cal McLean to slide over and just get that tiniest bit of nudge on Eisenberg to prohibit him and being able to square that ball back across.
We talked about it right at the open. An all-star game, what is, as a player, like what are you trying to accomplish? How do you try and settle in? What is the experience?
The settling part is the first thing for me, because it's so difficult to find a rhythm when you don't know the players that are around you. And so you really have to trust all the processes that have been put in place before, and just recognizing what your space is, what your responsibility is overall, and allowing the game to come to you as opposed to chasing it. Your tendency in games like this, David, is that you want to go make an impact. You want to be the one to show everybody what you're made of, but you have to fight that urge and trust these guys around you, even though you haven't been with them that much. But certainly the accomplishment, yeah, you want to go win. Everybody wants to win a game. Anytime that you get players of this caliber and you step on the field, pride is something that is always going to be right there in the spotlight. They want to be the ones that have the bragging rights when they leave historic Crew Stadium today, poking fun with each other, saying, yeah, don't forget, we took down that game. We were the ones that came out of there and bested you.
Next time you see anyone at a national team camp, you want to be able to say that we were the ones who walked out with the victory. It was dramatic last year. It was a PK shootout victory. Mohamed Shore of Seattle winning the MVP for his performance in that shootout. Now an opportunity for these players who would have watched that game. Their friends, their older teammates played in that game. They get their first opportunity to be a part of that this year. Matteo Tsakiris dropping deep to help pick this ball up off the center backs. Captain for the LA Galaxy over the course of this next season. GA Cup finalists losing to the Philadelphia Union and then getting their revenge in next Cup U17 semifinals, and eventually the victory in the final over Charlotte FC. Battle here, and somehow able to keep possession for the Western Conference is Liam McKenzie. Played out wide. Pierce trying to look up with Randell. Now Randell back to defend. We talked about that pride, that moment for Darius Randell. This is a huge moment. The first time his mom has ever seen him play live in his life is going to be here at this game. What a moment for that family.
That's incredible. And I used to think at the youth level, Mom, maybe stay away from something like games.
Please, to your parents. You
point
can
your direction
this one.
somewhere else. That's right. An incredible opportunity for him, and they look pretty settled on the ball so far. West All-Stars. Cavan Sullivan, very clear, if you don't know him, about how he wants to play the game, certainly the way that he's going to attack it, and never hurts to have that man coming off the ball. Owen Pratt in goal to help out and assist in the process.
All of these players will play here in the first half. We will have full lineup changes expected at halftime to play in the second half here in this All-Star game. So these players, 45 minutes, the opportunity to put on a show here for their team. A little calm here from Juan Rojas, one of the youngest players in this group. All of these players had to be born between 2007 and 2009. There are 6 players born in 2008 on this Eastern Conference roster, younger than the West, and lone 1 player born in 2009. He is the youngest player in MLS history, Cavan Sullivan. We opened up the match talking about him. I think it's going to be the least record he's going to care about over the course of the last 7 days about his age, as Randell drives this one in, and the first big opportunity of the game there, falling to Vancouver Whitecaps attacker Liam McKenzie.
They've been very impressive in their ball movement so far, and then when it has been turned over, a really good job of maintaining that line of confrontation up high. Both opportunities now coming from a quick little repress to grab a turnover and then come the other direction. It's a difficult ball for Liam McKenzie, to be fair, for him to get on. Well played in, but just to accelerate into that space and get the right timing down.
We've already talked about Cavan Sullivan a ton. Let's talk to him now. Let's go down to Andrew Wiebe with the young playmaker.
It's the man of the hour, Cavan Sullivan, 14 years old, making your debut in MLS. But Cavan, you're straddling all these different worlds. Here with your peers at the MLS Next All-Star Game, playing in MLS Next Pro, now in MLS. What stood out to you about the last month?
Yeah, obviously at the higher level, it's the physicality and the speed of play. Here, it's sort of nice to be back with my boys, some of my former national team players, and be back at the level I played at for most of this year. Yeah, I'm looking to have fun and enjoy some time with some of my friends and just ball out, and hopefully East gets the win.
Obviously, you're with your Union guys, but also Delco's here. I know there's a rivalry, but also some friendliness. Who are the guys we're looking forward to seeing, maybe competing against? Give them a little stick.
Yeah, Michael Capretto MVP and goal scorer of the U16 level in the MLS Next Cup. So really excited to have him on my team. And obviously I've gone against him for many years at FC Delco and Philadelphia Union. So obviously there's a rivalry back at home, but I'm rooting for him here.
Everybody trying to get to the MLS level. What stands out about that night, that experience, that thing that you shared with your family?
Yeah, I would say if you're trying to get there, obviously keep working. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but the up of hugging your family after the debut is worth all the downs. It's really the high is going to be high in that moment. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Is Quinn ever going to let you forget that he scored on your debut?
Never. That's how it works in my house. Yeah, he'll never shut up about it. So yeah.
High level of competition, high level for Cavan Sullivan. Cavan, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, back to you.
He's 14. He's giving advice to the future.
Speaks he's going to have my job in a couple weeks' time, and he just wants to
He'll be the youngest MLS season pass analyst in history.
That's right. You know, I love the friendly competition. Imagine a conversation at that dinner table, by the way. You know, and Cavan talked about what it was like on that night for him and the highest of highs. I would say that the other side of that is people recognizing what will be lows for him, and they should be.
Yeah.
People at home, and this is something that I think we need to understand as a country, we need him to fail to get better, right? Because we're built on this system in sports that it's got to be up. But in order to succeed, you have to have failures. So he is going to have nights where it's not going to go well for him. He's going to have his head down. But to have his teammates, number one, but the community and the league to pick him up to continue that progression at the professional level, it's so important that he fails so that he can succeed and also provide that pathway for others.
Yeah, he is also following that pathway. The Paxton Aronsons, the Brendan Aronsons. There are so many lessons that have been learned by the Philadelphia Union as a club and by MLS as a league as this corner kick's played in. Headed on to goal. Rojas makes his first save of the game. Had an opportunity there for the Western Conference. But you talk about development as there's almost a mistake there. Chance to break in for Max Eisenberg, and the foul will go against him. Eisenberg with the Portland Timbers. U17s led their squad with 15 goals on the season. Playing up top, he's got 1 goal in MLS Next Pro this year. Did so against Ventura County. So take a look at the replay here. Rojas maybe a little bit too casual there. Eisenberg almost breaks in for that opportunity. Trying to roll it out there to the feet of McLean.
Pressure once again, right? That high line of pressure for the West, and Oregon State commit out of Max Eisenberg, who looks still very young. For some of these players, you're going to hear words like, oh, he's committed to this. We think that he could go this way, but there's still a lot to be seen in that conversation. So for a guy right now that's committed to play for former pro Greg Dalby, that's an interesting pathway, because I look at recent success of the FC Dallas player Logan Farrington, transfer to Oregon State, and nice little run to College Cup.
This one feathered through, and the tackle made by Gavin Wolf with the recovery. A good bright moment for the Eastern Conference.
So many of the young kids in these days, they're looking for mentors, they're looking for visions. We talk about that pathway. Things that haven't changed is tendencies, right? You go where your friends want to go. You go where you feel like you're going to have success. So at such a young age, to see a young pro like Farrington and a great coach like Dalby grab talent like that bodes well.
McKenzie puts it in, and the touch on the far side in the opening goal of the 2024 MLS Next All-Star Game. The West has been knocking on the door, and they finally break through. We talked about him getting an opportunity a moment ago. This time, Liam McKenzie goes out wide and plays provider, and the goal for the center forward, Max Eisenberg.
And one of the things that we've talked about for this West team is pressure, and I would also say the rotation that you get out of this team. And in this instance, it's Liam McKenzie who pops out of that midfield 3 and comes to the near touchline on the inversion by Randall. But notice how he slows his run. McKenzie very smart in this overall as he picks his head up to recognize that Randall has slowed himself down to allow the striker to push himself up high. With Anthony Boyajin on that back post run. Almost doesn't get all of it, but he's got just enough to redirect it into the back corner. And a little bit of hesitancy there from Juan Rojas, who heard some footsteps after the collision on Eisenberg, but a great build by the West.
So correction there from Anthony Boyadin, as you said, the goal scorer from Albion in California, one of the big youth clubs in North America. 14 goals on the MLS Next season. And he gets the first one here in the All-Star game. And as you've said, Devin, it's been coming for this Western Conference team. They've been the aggressor offensively. Big tackle there. We continue to play on. Eisenberg comes out wide now. He floats this one and deflected. Second chance, and it's off the keeper and put in. The Western Conference exploding to open up this All-Star game. And Skylar Kaplan gets the second goal of the game. A huge moment for him. An MLS Next Cup champion and now a goal scorer here, Devin, in the All-Star game.
We just talked about Liam McKenzie and the way that he popped up out of the middle, but how about the pressure coming right down Route 1? A very similar conversation. Eisenberg does well, and then all of a sudden, to reassert yourself up top by Skylar Kaplan. Great vision here. Not just the idea that you want to put this into the mixer and allow a player to run onto it, but specifically for Skylar Kaplan to push himself up high and get back into the attack. They had lost the 9 presence with Eisenberg coming out. Incredible movement by the West team for their second on the day.
So Kaplan making the run out of midfield, gets himself the goal. Back-to-back goals in back-to-back minutes for this Western Conference side. The perfect start for this team. And you talked about the history at the beginning of the broadcast, Devin. 6 players here from 6 different non-MLS, MLS Next academies, and 2 of them goal scorers here in the first half. Brown not able to get to that one. Intercepted by Pierce. And now you have to think, for this Eastern Conference team, Dan Locke looking for a leader. Who's going to sort of carry this team back into it? Who can put this team on their back as Chase Adams tries to run this one down?
I'd say everybody just settled just a little bit, nerves, frantic. Certainly being on television, it isn't the first time for these young men. That doesn't mean it's a regular thing either. Nerves of not being around the normal faces on the pitch with you. And then the early line of pressure that has been the West All-Stars. Really impressive, by the way. Not just the fact that they've brought pressure, but that the structure has been really well maintained as a group in total. Beat that first line, push through, kind of push yourself a little bit further. Would love to see the outside backs and Baera and Brown for the East get a little bit more involved, though difficult with the numbers up high.
Let's go down to the sideline once more. Andrew Wee with the technical director of MLS Next, Fred Lipka.
Thank you, Dave. Fred, we have 2 early goals, and both from players that don't hail from MLS academies. What have these other academies brought to MLS Next, the competition and the quality?
They bring a lot this game, and the 2 goals scored by, I would say, non-MLS player highlight our pathway. We are here to celebrate our pathway. Pro player pathway is made by players which are in a pro academies, but also in elite academies, and the mix of both kind of players gives the quality of our competition. It's a good mix, necessary mix, and always reviewing and mixing, evaluating players which are in the pathway, in the pro pathway, or in elite academies.
So much focus on the players, but the coaches are sort of the guides, the Sherpas, so to speak, of all these players through this pathway, through the journey. How have you seen coaching at this level change since you've been in Major League Soccer?
Oh, in 10 years I've been working here in the US and Canada. I saw a big change in terms of expertise. Our coaches, but also our staff. It's an entire ecosystem which is here to create the right environment around our players, and the players are the most important ingredient, but there is no great player without great teachers and all the people to take care of them, trainers, school teacher, admin. So a lot of people work for the sake of the kids.
Before I let you go, Fred, we spoke to Cavan earlier. We'll see him, we expect, in the second half. What makes him a special player? What makes him a special example of what you're building with MLS Next?
It's precocity. Cavan is a bit of exception, so don't forget the player is not really sometime ready to arrive to play pro at 15 years old or before. So Cavan is a kind of excel in the capacity to be a good player in terms of talent, skills, technical and tactical, but he has also something mentally which is exceptional. So he has he's driven, he has motivation, commitment, and associated with his soccer skills, it gives a great combo.
Fred, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Thank you to Fred for taking the time. While we were on with them, big chance there, first big chance of the game for this Eastern Conference. Vitaly Hulu getting that opportunity off the setup by Capretti. So you start to see the Eastern Conference finding their feet here, Devin.
It is definitely settled a little bit. There's another great ball through.
And the opportunity, and it's popped over and in. The opening goal for the Eastern Conference. They're able to settle in. They get their chance. And the man who promised he'd score 3 today gets it started from Nelson Hernandez and DC United.
And we just started to see the East settle into this match, and I'll tell you what, in back-to-back sequences, Cal McLean, the tackle on the other end, and then to move his line up high. I talk about settling, to have the patience to recognize this run coming up through the midfield. We saw it twice from the West All-Stars now. Nelson Hernandez, great explosion into the final third, and how about the touch into the bottom corner to pull one back for the East. Excellent finish.
2 goals in this game with runs out of midfield. We saw Kaplan on one side. You see the opportunity there for Hernandez on the other side, the DC United Academy player. Stepping into this team, one of the later additions to this squad and showing that he belongs here every bit as much as everyone else. And a big moment there for the East to settle into this game and pull it back to a 2-1 deficit. Boy, do we have a treat for us here at historic Crew Stadium. MLS Next 2024 All-Star Game presented by Allstate. David Goss and Devin Kerr with you for this one. Big opportunity now once again played out wide, but the offside flag goes up. And when you talk about Columbus and you talk about goals, you think of Christian Ramirez. Christian Ramirez joining us here. Thanks for being here. You know a little bit about these teams. You were part of the training yesterday. You've been part of learning and getting your coaching licenses as well over the last few years. We talked to Fred Lipka about coaching and how it affects players. How different is it now from the coaching you had growing up, and what are you learning now seeing it from the other side?
Yeah, no, I think it's really tough. I talked to Dan today about this game and what he's trying to implement, and I know he's trying to put them in good situations for them to be successful and enjoy themselves. And just compete. That's the biggest thing in these games, is to compete and showcase yourself, because these guys might be the future of MLS and the world one day.
Chase Adams, 2 goals this weekend. You've worked with him a little bit, the Columbus homegrown. What do you try and teach young forwards? What is the keys to sort of being able to master the position?
Yeah, no, Chase is making me look like a really good mentor and a really good coach. So
just score goals and be good.
I told him to chase the MVP out here if it's possible, but no, he's good. He's a willing learner. Just trying to slow him down a little bit in and around the box. He tends to rush out.
Opportunity here for Chase Adams. He's able to hold it up. He pulls it back and just wide.
That's the patience that we've been trying to work on, that extra touch in there, whereas before he would have rushed something, but yeah, very good by Chase.
The run forward from the right back, Drew Baera. Christian, let's get a little analysis here. Walk us through it.
So a good run in behind after combining, and he takes a good touch, composes himself and finds a teammate. Should have been a goal, but yeah, you see some of his qualities and abilities in that play itself to be able to combine and then get the run in behind and set somebody else up.
Let's take your experience at the youth level as well as what it looks like now at the professional level, right? Houston, Minnesota, LA. You've seen some communities that are certainly engrossed into the soccer environment at the youth level. What's different now in Columbus? You know, obviously success at the senior level, the Crew 2 team. You're working with some of these academy players. What do you think is different in this community specifically now?
Yeah, they're just working from the ground up and really focused on the player development and the player itself, trying to grow them, not just on the field but off the field, and I think that goes a long way to be able to handle the adversity that comes as being a professional soccer player and learning about that.
Give us a peek behind the curtain. You know, most people that don't know the two teams are usually hand in hand, sometimes a little bit delayed in terms of training, but a lot of those kids are getting a chance to come and experience a first-team environment. How about guys like Chase, some of the other guys in the academy level, and the opportunity to come and learn from, some of the best in MLS with the crew squad?
Yeah, so Chase was lucky enough to come into preseason with us this year, and he obviously had some learning curve to do, but then he joined into preseason games and showed well, and I think that's carried over to this season for him.
That one almost snuck through there. As a first-team player, what is sort of the interaction? What's the responsibility when the young academy players get their first chances in training or preseason or even on a first-team roster?
Yeah, just trying to guide them, trying to slow them down in terms of the nerves that they carry with themselves in every session, and just seeing that they want to learn. You don't want to be one of the young guys coming in thinking you know everything. So just being coachable, not just by the coaches, but by the guys who have been around and know what they're talking about.
One of the biggest differences that I regularly hear, whether it's within the first team talking about the younger players, if it's in the academy, if it's college coaches, and they talked about the technical ability of guys coming up in this day and age compared to maybe what it was when I was growing up, when you were growing up. I'm a little bit older than you, but it's different generations, right? Getting an opportunity to witness these young players firsthand, is there something that sticks out to you? Is it the technical ability that's the biggest difference?
Yeah, I think it's the technical ability for sure. And they have so much at their exposure where they can develop at a faster rate, whereas before we didn't have much, all these tools that they're given now. So yeah, for them it's using that to be able to get to the next level, and taking advantage of that.
You're working on your coaching, and now that you are working in that way, how do you see the game differently? How has it changed for you as a player and becoming a coach?
Yeah, as a player, I'm now analyzing what teams are doing to us when I'm out on the field and seeing how we can exploit them. And as a coach, it's tough. It's a lot tougher than it looks, for sure. Like to plan your week out and all that stuff. That's definitely a learning curve. But I think I have good role models in Wilfred and Kwame and Johan to be able to learn and grasp that stuff.
I was just about to say, it's too bad you don't have someone up top telling you guys what to do, who has an idea about the game and how to go about it, right? Do these players here understand maybe the different ideas that are allowing the crew to be so brilliant in football and so free-flowing? Do they understand maybe that little bit extra and different subtleties that he brings to the game in the crew squad?
I think they do when they come train with us once, and then they feel like everything's moving and spinning in their head, but then the second time they're able to grasp a little bit more. So yeah, it takes a little bit to get used to all the wording and all the position that he wants you to take.
How many of players in MLS and first teams are talking about being coaches or talking about taking that step?
I think it's growing more and more. I know it was a conversation that I was having early on, and then finally was able to jump and take the course. And credit to the crew, the one club method really helped me along the coaching course, because the terminology from top to bottom is the same, so I was able to pass knowledge down in a way that the first team is doing it, so it was good.
So one club means one style, one terminology from top to bottom?
Yeah, essentially, and they're trying to grow that way. That way it's the easiest to develop players. In my opinion, it helps, and then it's also the easiest to integrate them as they continue to grow and develop further on.
We're not just talking youth, though. You've got a chance with this crew team to be back-to-back MLS Cup champions. You're going into Leagues Cup, of course, with the bye all the way through. What does the rest of the season look like? What's the conversation as you get this little bit of a break coming into the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, come refreshed after this break, to be able to attack Leagues Cup, and then from there, chase every trophy that we can get. You don't get to be on these type of teams and have this type of momentum very often, so it's about capitalizing and taking it for what it's worth.
Well, we know you want to stay up here and hang out for the rest of the game. You had good instincts. You paused at the right moments. You were ready for it. You gave us analysis.
Christian and Cavan both taking my job. I mean, I got to do something at All-Star, right?
Oh, don't worry. There's water. There's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of stuff to be dragged around. Christian Ramirez, thank you so much for taking the time, man. Really appreciate it.
You guys. Thanks, Allstate, for putting this together.
It has been an awesome event so far. It has been an awesome game. Christian Ramirez, a legend in Major League Soccer. You know, Devin, it's interesting as you talk to someone like Christian because his path was different than these players will experience. We talk about the pro pathway. We talk about Cavan Sullivan at 14 years old. And then you look at Christian Ramirez had to go find his opportunities himself. How do you marry sort of the experiences he went through, which have clearly helped him in his career, but get players on the field earlier and younger as well?
Fred Lipka alluded to it a little bit earlier that Cavan's an exception, right? Not everybody is going to be the star who gets the spotlight and the first team appearance right away and be record breakers. And while it's certainly amazing and we should celebrate those moments, we have to be very cognizant of the fact that, I alluded to failing earlier, kids are going to fail at a young age, and that's okay. And just trying to help maintain the developmental curve so that if you're not put on a homegrown contract at 15, 18 years of age, whatever it may be, that's okay. You can still work through the 2-team. You can still go to college, and that doesn't mean by any way, shape, or form that you have failed in the process, right? Christian, 2 different colleges, right? Goes out immediately, tries to find another path. You know, bounces, not in a bad way, I might add, but goes from Orange County Blue Star, but right out of college, coming out of Concordia, you know, Charlotte Eagles, right, at the USL level, then to Minnesota United. It becomes this journey of, okay, what's the next step? What's the next step? And to me, there was a real key piece of that if you tie in that pathway for everyone, Christian's pathway overall, and something that Fred Lipka alluded to as well is the coaching. It is so important that you take these assets in this country that we all have at our disposal and you try to take advantage of them, because I'll say one of the biggest differences for me is not just the talent of players, but the quality of coaching that these people are able to receive.
And you have players who have played in so many different levels who then can walk out of the game and share that. And I think that's when you look at the development of Major League Soccer growing and expanding, MLS Next Pro coming in. It's more soccer jobs, it's more soccer opportunities as now the West breaks in once again. Pierce's cross is blocked, and it's a corner kick coming for this Western Conference team. 2-1 here. Back-to-back goals in back-to-back minutes for the Western Conference to open up this match early in this first half. And then the equalizer for the Eastern Conference, excuse me, the 1 goal to get it back for this Eastern Conference side in Nelson Hernandez. The DC United midfielder as Miguel Alvarado. Colorado Rapids fullback will come forward to take this one with his cultured left foot. U.S. Youth National Team player will look to drive this one in. But right on top of the 6, a punch from Rojas. Still alive on the edge of the box. Eisenberg goes down. And we will continue to play on here. Gusky comes away with it. Ball up the line, and Wolf steps forward, and he gets called for the foul. And that'll be our first yellow card of this game. I don't believe yellow cards carry over for suspension, so should be okay. As we are into our first hydration break. So Gavin Wolf, son of Josh Wolf, Austin FC Academy player, under the Austin FC head coach, his father stepping forward from that center back spot. He picks up the yellow card there. And the first of the game as we are into this hydration break. Temperature's a little bit high, even with some cloud cover here at Historic Crew Stadium. What an incredible environment for this game. What an incredible moment as well for these young players, and an opportunity to be around some legends as we go down to the field with Diego Valera and Andrew Wiebe.
Thank you, Dave. Diego, you cannot stay away. You walked away from me just now to coach up your guys. What do you make of that first 30 minutes?
Yeah, of course, because they're playing great, you know, but obviously when you just know your teammates,
nobody
just a couple of things.
I mean, nobody cares.
We care about tactics, you know?
Taylor, your time is coming. Your time is coming.
Stay on us from that position. We're playing much better than you. Playing way better than your team.
Absolutely, but we've had 3 better chances than you. That's all that matters.
Yeah, but we got the ball, we got the feel of the game, and this, it's on us, you know?
As a professional finisher, Taylor, I mean, chances are one thing, goals are another, right?
Yeah. We scored 2.
Yeah.
Right?
You scored 2. We've scored 1.
Chances.
That's fine. It's just at the end of the score. Just remember what the score is, and then we go from there.
We'll see.
How cool is this, by the way? Your first time doing this with Allstate?
I get excited, you know. I want to talk to them 100 times, 1,000 things that I see, and it's, you know, there's not enough time to tell all of the stuff that I want to say. Yeah.
Diego is coaching on this bench. Taylor, are you up giving direction, telling guys what to do? Diego's he's like a second head coach over there.
No, I'm just Googling my highlights from 2005 All-Star Game and showing the kids on the bench that I actually did play at one point, and then I showed 2015 MLS Cup with this guy scored a goal 27 seconds in. Yeah, the press.
This is hallowed ground for Diego Valeri. As we continue this hydration breaking and are almost out, I want to talk about the player pathway to both of you, because you took different paths to your careers, but these kids have resources, have opportunities that kids did not have 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I would think that's fair. I think MLS deserves a ton of credit for cleaning it up and making it easier to understand how the pathway is. But 3.5 years ago, Allstate and I had a conversation. They tangibly wanted to make a difference. They wanted not to have the failure of qualifying for the World Cup in 2018, and they put all their money and resources behind this generation. We didn't have that. 1995 is a long time ago, but it isn't when in the grand scheme of things. It's crazy to think how quickly this has blown up, and the pathway is, listen, 10 guys have played in this game in the last 2 years that have now made their first team debuts in MLS. There's no way we would have said that in 2015 when you were here in MLS Cup, 2018. It's happened a lot quicker than I think we're giving credit to MLS.
And, I mean, there's so much talent here, too. So it's going to be probably professionals coming from these teams. You can tell there's talent here. Right?
So where did you get that hat? Because the sun's beaming on my head. And like, is it because you played and you were an Adidas athlete?
No, because I have experience. I knew that I needed a hat, so I brought it from Portland.
I need a helmet.
Anytime you got an MLS Cup winner on this field, they just hand you a hat when you walk through the gates. Guys, thank you.
MLS Cup loser 4 times.
Well, I guess we have the answer to that. Thank you, Diego. Thank you, Taylor. Back up to you guys.
Everyone having fun with this one. Thank you to those two. Thanks to Weeby for chatting with them. Devin, it is amazing, though, because in all the jokes and everything, you hear Valeri talk about everything he wants to say to these players. These are people we just talked about who have lived and breathed this game and are so excited to pass it on to the next generation.
And obviously not remorseful whatsoever in Taylor's situation and about not winning the MLS Cup, as you can hear him leading out on the end of his comments.
That one slipped through for Brown, the local Columbus left back with the shot. It goes just over the end line, so it'll be a goal kick.
Remember I said to you earlier when we were talking about Eisenberg and maybe following Logan Farrington's footsteps through Oregon State into the professional level. Not necessarily going to happen, but an Oregon State commit right now. There are the tendencies at the youth level, and you want to follow what's going on around you, where the successes come from. But there's also the look at the mentors and the legends within MLS, like a Taylor Twellman, like a Diego Valeri, and understanding that, okay, they found success here. How do I do that? So leaning on them and taking advantage of their knowledge, because let's be very clear, as much success as there is, as much of things have changed, you're not regularly getting an opportunity to sit down with people like that. And those guys, firsthand knowledge, the way that they see the game, think about the game, very difficult.
Eisenberg in on goal here, tries to head it on, and handled by Rojas, but beautifully done. Once again, it's McKenzie and Eisenberg linking up for the West.
It's very difficult to get a chance to be able to sit down in those situations.
That one cleared away, only as far as Hulu. Get up, trying to attack his defender. Pierce gets a little support, and the West able to come away with it. This is a big weekend, or a big week here in Columbus. Of course, the skills challenge tonight between the MLS and Liga MX All-Stars. These young players got to go to training yesterday. They got to see some of the legends, some of the stars, and have an opportunity to be around them. And they've put on a show so far today, including this opportunity.
I've been very impressed with both midfielders for the West Side, and Liam McKenzie and Skylar Kaplan, and their ability to create for this front line, and not necessarily from within, kind of getting out of that pocket, dragging players with them to allow the space to open up for others, and then also starting to create on their own, right? Getting into the one-on-ones or finding those gray areas quickly on the half turn and trying to distribute to Max Eisenberg up top.
Wolf now will rotate it along the back line. Alvarado making the run from his left back spot. He's able to win this one back. Closed down, battling there with Briscoe. And finally, the touch, from Gusky, knocks it away. Gusky, a third member of his family to play in the Orlando City Academy. His two older brothers before him, Owen and Liam, both playing with Orlando. Liam, the captain of the U17 MLS Next Cup champions back in 2021. He's currently at Seton Hall, Owens at Jacksonville University, and now the opportunity to captain this team for Colin. And it's amazing how quickly you can create history for a young club in Orlando, a young academy, to now have a family legacy, an alumni group similar to the Sullivans up in Philadelphia.
I think I should be going down talking to these players, because whether it's Gusky or Tsakiris, right, like the opportunity to figure out what the meal plan is. I got 3 young boys at home. I wouldn't mind getting some of that success.
You could talk to the Sullivans.
Yeah, there we go.
As well, the Aronsons, of course. I think it's the fact that every single day when you come home from school and you go 1v1, you're going up against another talented, intense player.
I feel like I blinked and Brendan Aronson grew up, right? I can remember when he made his debut back with the artist formerly known as Bethlehem Steel, now Philadelphia Union 2, called his first ever professional goal.
There you go. A little bit of history for you.
Yeah, the locks a little bit longer then, a little bit more tailored now at the professional level.
Space to run into here for Drew Baera. He puts it across, and it's just a little bit too long for the run from Capretto. Michael Capretto, MLS Next MVP and Golden Boot winner, and an inch away from getting the goal here.
Well, you discussed earlier with Chris Ramirez one path, right? Like kind of that one vision. This is what this is on full display for Drew Baera on the outside back for the East, but specifically in the NYCFC program, and how they like to attack with their outside backs in one-on-one situations, allowing them to get up high. And so that goes back to the fact that, okay, maybe they don't necessarily know every single player on the pitch, but they understand the system, and they understand what Locke wants of him, right? He knows that if he can get an opportunity to come a little bit high, push the tempo up there, he's going to have those trailing runners in the box. It's an excellent movement on the far side.
The West now looking to break in the other direction, out wide for Pierce, and Pierce will pull it back. Andrew Wiebe down on the field. He's had a number of big-name players with him already. He is now with the second youngest signing in RSL history, Luca Moisa.
Guys, Luca, you're here at the MLS Next All-Star Game, but you almost didn't get here. You played for Monarchs this weekend, and then you had a little planes, trains, and automobile journey. How did you get here, and what does it mean to be here for you?
I got here by plane first. First, I had to fly to Phoenix, and then after I just stayed on and flew to Columbus, but it was a bit of delay, few hours. I was just sitting in the airport, but I'm here now, so I'm thankful for everything, so yeah.
What's it mean to you to be a part of this team, to rub shoulders with your peers, all of you at such a high level?
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, great event, seeing kids from other teams that you normally don't hang out with every day, and seeing just even from non-MLS teams, just seeing those kids shine like in this game today, so it's been good. You've been shining both at club but also for country. What does it mean to you to represent the U.S. at the youth national team levels? Representing the U.S. means a lot to me, mainly because I'm not from the U.S. Both of my parents were born in Romania, but the U.S. has given me so many opportunities, so just representing the U.S. has been huge for me. Obviously, RSL giving you opportunities both with the Monarchs and at the next level. And you got two of the big guys here as well, Justin Glad and Diego Luna. What's it mean to share this experience with them? Yeah, they're huge players. I haven't really been with the first team too much, but just having them as representative with RSL, just so we can get our name out there, and it's been great, and I hope to see them later. What do you hope to show in the second half? I hope to just get on the ball, get moving, and then try showing what I'm capable of doing and what I've got in my locker, basically. All right, we look forward to seeing your bag, man. Appreciate you. Thank you. Back to you guys.
Thank you to Luca for taking the time on that one. He has had an incredible young career, still continuing to rise. He will come on the field in this second half as we expect to see wholesale lineup changes for these two teams, as this one's floated in just too long for Randell.
As if Pablo Mastroeni and ROSL needed more depth within that roster in the Western Conference.
It is amazing what RSL has built, and still the pipeline they have come through. They built the residency. They were really the first club to do it, to have every player live on site. They have their own school. It is one of the top schools in the state of Utah, regardless of soccer around it, and it is a really cool opportunity, and Luca Moisa taking advantage of that, as we saw Axel Kai do, one of the youngest players in MLS history, and a number of other pieces that have come up through that club. Alvarado clips this one to the far post, little Rocky Mountain rival. It'll fall on the far side of the box, knocked away once again. Your favorite player in this game, Kai McLean.
He's been excellent on that far side, Kai McLean. Again, the distributor on that ball down into the channel that grabbed the one back for the Eastern Conference. Couple of tackles. Making U17 national team player for Inter Miami. Really aggressive, and notice just he's got so much intent about his game. If you watch, he commits, right? I'm gonna go win this challenge. He picks his head up, immediately turning the other direction, always forward thinking, trying to advance the team, bring that back line up.
And now the East are rolling forward. Hulu into the box, cuts back to his right foot, all the way across. Husky now floats this one in, and it'll be just wide of the near post. But that back to front attack started by the quality in possession at the center back position.
I'd also say, coming off that interview, by the way, that the movement for these players, we talk about getting them an opportunity to experience, you know, this great venue, all-star weekend, some of the best and brightest around the country. How about some of the travel that they have to go through? This is something that we don't talk about, right? When you get to the professional level of, yeah, you're going to run into snags. And certainly the advancement in travel for the senior team and for the two teams has taken a ton of steps, lest we forget that this is still a country that is massive in size, and you're not always going to be playing an hour, 2, 3 hours, and you're going to have to get on planes. Sometimes you're going to have to find a way to make it work, but an opportunity for all of them to push through it. Just a little taste of the darker side at times, right? Nothing wrong with that.
Devin still remembering the cot he slept on a few nights ago just to get here, but we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
In the booth, ready to roll. David Goss, Evan Kerr, Andrew Wiebe down on the sideline. We've already had a number of fun guests. We're going to talk to some of these players in the second half, as this is a marauding run and just wide of the near post. Capretto looking to reenact his MLS Next Cup, a final goal, and put this game level.
You get a glimpse as to why he was the MVP and top scorer within that tournament, and why he's led Delco over the past 3 seasons as their top scorer.
Corner kick coming here for the East. They go all the way back to Brown. Brown will cycle it now across this back line. Briscoe now out wide for Hulu. Back to Briscoe as we are into the final moments of this first half. The flag goes up against Adams. Chase Adams, a local, getting the start at the center forward position. Scored 2 goals in what is now dubbed the Heck is Plausible rivalry match between Crew 2 and FC Cincinnati 2. Of course, we got to keep it clean
PG,
at the youth levels
well
for
done.
the kids, you know? PG-13 there. Of course, we know FC Cincinnati and Columbus at the senior level. It's a little bit stronger of terminology. A 6-1 win on this field on Sunday for Crew 2. A little bit of revenge after falling to FC Cincinnati earlier in the season.
Hard to imagine being in any 2 better organizations for marketing ploy than Columbus and Cincinnati within that rivalry game, right?
It is the center of the soccer world right now, Ohio.
Yeah.
FC Cincinnati Shield winners last year, Columbus Cup winners. Those 2 in the conversation once again. Crew 2 have been to back-to-back MLS Next Pro Championships. They won it in the first ever year, as this one's knocked away, but it does fall to the feet of Adams, and Adams now gets on his horse, trying to push the attack into the attacking half. Adams now, blue jerseys around him, finds a teammate. Preto out wide for Gusky, all the way to Baera. Briscoe now closed down immediately, and the foul will go against the West, and a big chance here for the East in stoppage time of this first half. A minimum of 3 minutes of stoppage time, as you see on your screens.
We talked about the Galaxy relationships for the West, but how about Capretto and then opening up the space, and then Liam Briscoe, the captain of that FC Delco U16 team that won MLS Next Cup. Give him credit, because he knows that contact is coming the entirety of the way. Great job, the way that he positions his body to get in front of that challenge that's coming.
So free kick coming here. We've got the goal scorer for the Eastern Conference, Nelson Hernandez, standing over this one with his right foot, and Tristan Brown, the local, on his left foot. And the referee ruins the fake. He fell for it as Brown faked the take, and Josh Braunstein, our head official, Blows the whistle to clean things up, and now a chance for the East to take it. Hernandez drives it, but it's up off the wall. Second opportunity falling. Randall comes away with it. He's able to at least clear the lines, and this could be a chance for the West now on the counterattack. Randall working hard. Eisenberg, the lone teammate around him. Eisenberg trying to shield it out. He can't, and again, the slide tackle coming in for this Eastern Conference squad. This one sneaks over the foot of Wolf. 1v1 opportunity here for the East. In on goal, and we've got an equalizer in first half stoppage time. It was an early 2-0 lead for the Western Conference. The East battles back, and NYCFC phenom Drew Baera with the second goal. It's the celly as hard as you can, and after a run like that, Devin, you can do whatever you want.
It starts on the back line, though, defensively. I've used the word structure from Kai McLean and Chris Applewhite. How about the tackle on the outside, though, coming down in deep? And then the distribution. Great vision here, and yes, a little bit of luck on the step up from Wolf on the far side, but good touch pass that sits up so appropriately for him. And this is, you know, that systematic success that we talked about, the one path, the understanding for Drew Baera that as his run starts, he's got to trust that that ball in from behind is going to come to him. Great representation of his speed, the change of pace, his work rate, and both of his speed and the movement that grabs the equalizer for the East just before halftime.
And you talk about how the youth development ranks have changed for these young players. Drew Baera, 17 years old. He has played over 25 professional soccer games in his life. A constant piece of the MLS Next Pro side. USU 17 international as well. And he gets the goal here in first half stoppage time. And let's talk about Nelson Hernandez as we get our final whistle. He said he'd score 3 in this game. A goal and an assist in 45 minutes, that's not bad.
But also working for it too, right? Because there's so many of these kids with that technique that we talked about. They want to be the name on the spotlight and the assists and everything, so they stay high and push into the final third. That's not the case whatsoever for Nelson Hernandez, who's been operating as that high 10, but coming down in, winning that ball, and then coming the other direction. I've been very impressed with the recovery by the East, and although it didn't start the way that they wanted to, I said just be patient, right? Get good structure, be patient, pick your moments, and they were able to do so twice at the closing moments of the first half.
Well, we have had a treat so far here in this first half, but we are not even close to finish yet. We've got a whole new roster of young phenoms to come on the field, including the youngest player in MLS history, Cavan Sullivan. But at halftime, we are knotted at 2-2 in the 2024 MLS Next All-Star Game presented by Allstate.
Vamos. dale pues, vamos allá, muévete más loco como solo tú lo sabes. Así es, con las manos en la cabeza, sacúdete, sacúdete, mira, sacúdete.
Welcome back, everybody, to historic Crew Stadium, the site of our 2024 MLS Next All-Star Game presented by Allstate. I'm David Goss, still joined by Devin Kerr, but we've got a special guest in the booth was here at halftime. Ashley Kelly of Allstate joining us, putting on this match. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, guys.
And what does MLS Next mean to you? What is the connection to this match?
So MLS Next is such an exciting opportunity for us, for Allstate. You know, it's really just showcasing and placing a spotlight on the up-and-coming talent in the U.S. So we're very excited to be out here, and Allstate is so excited to be, you know, wrapping ourselves around this program and these players.
The relationship itself started in 2022. Can you kind of give everybody a bigger picture idea of Allstate's brand commitment to the overall growth of soccer, you know, the whole pyramid in the United States?
Yeah. So Allstate is very passionate about soccer in the U.S. and the growth of soccer in the U.S. And we see that as a huge opportunity. You know, at Allstate, we really want to, we say protect the future of the game. Obviously, we're a protection company. We're not talking about, you know, at the insurance level, but protect the future of the game, protect that developmental pipeline, and, you know, to ensure that soccer continues to be a force to be reckoned with in the U.S. And from an Allstate perspective, you know, we really started the grassroots program at the grassroots level and sponsor programs like Sueño Alianza and Black Star, which target youth and underserved communities. Then we have MLS, MLS Next, and then at the top we have the U.S. men's and women's national team at the federation level. So, you know, again, we're just really excited to be out here to watch these players. And I mean, if we think about from 2022 until now, we've had 28 players who have played in the next game who have now signed homegrown contracts. What that just really shows the talent and the impact this game has, and hopefully has on the future of soccer in the U.S.
Love that.
You've got all the stats. Do you want to just call the second half and we'll leave?
Absolutely.
For sure. You got space for me up here? I'm in.
We're going to come back with more action. And of course, Ashley will carry us through it right here from the 2024 MLS Next All-Star Game. MLS Next 2024 All-Star Game presented by Allstate here on MLSsoccer.com. David Goss and Devin Kerr with you for this one. A big first half, 2-goal lead for the West. The East battling back though, and they've got some new players ready to get on the field, including the youngest player in MLS history, the youngest debutant in American team sport history, that young man, Cavan Sullivan.
I certainly heard his name. Let's see exactly what he can do with some of his boys, as he said, in the creator within the midfield. But there's a ton of talent within this team, right? You've got Chadilla up top in the 9 position. That's your 2023-2024 MLS Next MVP. 34 goals in the regular season, including 5 in the GA Cup to win the Golden Boot. Down into the midfield, we talked about Sullivan, but how about Tonan Di Dandel? Not a bad spot right in there next to the Charlotte FC product, excuse me. Incredible the way that he's on the ball, just such a calming presence to move things side to side. And then Keysell, the FC Cincinnati player on the back line, already joined the young product for 2 appearances, excuse me, for the Cincinnati 2 team. And then the West. You're going to see the 4-3-3, but the coaches have given them a little bit of a luxury to roam a little bit. I'm a big fan of Ian James on the back line, the Sporting Kansas City product. Peter Vermees will have his eye on him. Tall, smart, and just I love the way that he attacks the game as a center back. Very aggressive to help usher things going forward. It was a great shift by Skylar Kaplan in the midfield in the first half, but now Moisa comes in and, can they keep that same sort of presence from the West that was so aggressive? Certainly up top from Leo Orejaena. And his ability on that left-hand side just made his debut for Tacoma in the 2 team back in April. Also competed for the FC Dallas U17's MLS Next Fest, GA Cup, and MLS Next.
Well, an action-packed first half, Devin. Let's take a look at the goals. Back-to-back goals and back-to-back minutes for this Western Conference team.
Aggression was everything for the 11 for the West in the first 45 minutes. I loved the pressing patterns up top. When they did turn the ball over, they didn't put their heads down. They set themselves right, and then they exploded coming forward. And specifically, I love the movement that you got out of Liam McKenzie and Skylar Kaplan, who are both very active to create for the boys up top. And how about Max Eisenberg? For as much as we talked about his goals, 15 goals in 2024, with the Timber U7 teams, he's a creator too. He didn't wait for the game to come to him. He chases out and created for others. But then the East team came storming back. Dan Locke did a really good job, as well as did Taylor Twellman. We'll give him a shout on the sideline of just keeping these guys calm, having the structure, and then exploding coming forward. Let's talk about Kai McLean. Ever present on that back line. Couple of tackles to keep this team in it and thwart off any of the attacks, but then really well done by Nelson Hernandez on the opening goal, and then the second, his tackle down deep. Then the contributor up top to spring Capreto free on that far side and grab the second 2-2 after 45 minutes.
Drew Baera, that goal in stoppage time, the big celebration from him as well. And that'll be it for his afternoon. As we saw in those graphics, a total lineup change for these squads. So now we go back to it, Devin. How do these teams find their feet? How do these players figure it out with, for some groups they've never played with, although for the East, a fun little note in that they've got Diego Rocio, Cavan Sullivan of Philadelphia Union, and their former teammate Stefan Chirilla up top.
Yeah, it certainly never hurts when you've got a couple of your boys, your friends to go and play and have fun with in the All-Star games. Well, the normal conversation would be wipe the slate clean. Forget about the opening 45 minutes. But that rings true even a bit more so because the East stormed back and you're at 2-2. It's a new game, right? Forget about any sort of tendencies that you saw in the first half. While we may see some of that same sort of aggression from the Western Conference, that did back off towards the tail end of that first half. So, can maybe you carry some of that momentum over if you're the East? Dan Locke saying, let's go and attack this game, right? The way that you guys closed that half, that was great. But this is a different group. I'm going to challenge you 11 to take what they brought to the field at the end of that and bring it here into the second 45 minutes.
You see what it means for these young players, having a good time, having fun. Cavan Sullivan, a week to remember. His brother, of course, Quinn, scoring in that game last week. And now he comes out on the field here in the MLS Next All-Star game as we get ready for our second half. The Western Conference in their all blue kits, the Eastern Conference in their white kits as well. We've got Andrew Wiebe down on the sideline, just trying to stay out of the crosshairs of Diego Valeri and Taylor Twellman from what we saw in that first half. It's just been fun, the talent on the field, and you watch young players figure it out. And while it's not perfection, right? It's not pre-planned patterns. It's almost more fun to see how can players problem solve.
Yeah, they made mistakes, right? And didn't we ask for that at the beginning of the show that, you're going to make mistakes, but learn from it. I think that both sides did a really good job. Sure, the East stormed back. Yes, the West was aggressive, but the West also found a way to play the game a little bit differently, right? A little bit more toka-toka, if you will, on the ball, moving it side to side. not necessarily as direct as we saw in the opening 15 minutes. Now, how does the coaching tendencies from Diego Valeri and Taylor Twellman change in the second half? I give them credit. They were both up. Taylor a couple times. Diego Valeri 20 yards down the sideline, just screaming up the right side.
Who knew Taylor was such an XG merchant? He was all about the chances, the big chances in the first half.
He said it was coming.
Goals weren't there.
He was right.
He had belief, and as he should. So the Western Conference getting ready to kick us off here. Josh Bronstein, our center referee, Sam Kogan, and Akash Ravapati, our assistant referees, and Eddie Morales, our fourth official for this one. A chance to get started here. It'll be Tomo Allen, the Stanford commit out of the San Jose Earthquakes Academy. He gets it going. Back to his teammate in Raja Gopal. And we are rolling in this second half. The 2024 MLS Next All-Star Game, presented by Allstate. David Goss and Devin Kerr with you for this one at historic Crew Stadium, the first soccer-specific stadium in the United States back in 1999. And now we're in a city that has two soccer-specific stadiums to host two different teams, and an opportunity to watch the future of the game on display here in front of some of the past legends and some of the current legends as well who are out to watch this one. So a chance now to knock it around along the back. Roche and Ferreira, the two center backs in this second group for the East. McIntosh getting the start at right back. Kiesel the start at left back. The FC Cincinnati players. McIntosh heads that one down. Sullivan trying to head it along and turns it over. For this Western Conference team, a ton of attacking talent in this one. Leo Morejarena getting the start along the left-hand side of the attack in this second half. One of the bright young attacking players, FC Dallas, purchased his homegrown rights for $300,000 in allocation money. We are talking about a teenager, Devin, and there is a lot of expectations but a lot of hope for FC Dallas right now in that young player.
We've given most of the applaud to Philadelphia Union, right, and Cavan Sullivan and what they've been able to do. Lest we not forget that FC Dallas has a really good argument for being the best academy ever at the MLS level with the names that they've been able to produce over the years.
You would have to throw Chicago Fire and New York Red Bulls in that conversation as well. The LA Galaxy, one of the teams that push things, first academy, first two team in MLS, and they have continued to push things further and further as it's gone along to try and be a trendsetter in youth development. When you have a market like that, it makes sense. Dallas, of course, a soccer hotbed. Ricardo Pepi called into the Copa America squad out of their academy. Weston McKennie, of course. Brian Reynolds going over and playing in Europe. Reggie Cannon. The list almost goes on and on with FC Dallas, and they've done something different than a lot of the academies, which is they've succeeded at an MLS level because of those players. They've almost built teams around homegrowns, which is very rare to see even now in MLS.
They're not building them and selling them immediately, right, because of their talent. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Just, again, different strokes for different folks, but certainly, regardless of the presence of one of those individuals or multiple, the ability to maintain success impressive.
Space here as the East tries to come out a little quicker than they did in the first half. Opportunity down the left wing. Kiesel calling for a touch there, but the referee will not agree, and that means that Zachary Campanolo will get us restarted here. Campanolo, out of the Colorado Rapids Academy, spent 3 years with Orlando City, including making the bench a couple times for Orlando City B, and now he sits behind Adam Boudry and Zach Steffen. What an opportunity to learn for a young goalkeeper behind the US U20 goalkeeper, and of course, a former US full starter and maybe future USM&T full-time starting keeper, and Zach Steffen. McIntosh will get us restarted. Out of the New England Revolution Academy, and this one's pushed on for Sullivan. Sullivan with the early ball across, and the shot, and it will go wide. Big opportunity there. Cavan Sullivan flying down the right side, and he tries to link up with his former Philadelphia Union Academy teammate, and Stefan Chirilla.
We talked about the confidence coming in, but how smart is this? Could have easily tried to go 1v1, being selfish, trying to get near the byline, but he would have closed the angle down, and instead, understanding that Chirilla had slowed the run. Well done by Matt Perring.
Another ball curled in, and Chirilla puts this one over the crossbar. This is not something you've been able to say much this year. Stefan Chirilla, the best goal scorer at the Generation Adidas Cup, as well as winning the MLS Next MVP. He had 34 goals in the MLS Next regular season. He has already now jumped up to playing with the 2 team, which he's got 5 goals and 3 assists with as just a 17-year-old. A chance to run up along in this front line with his 2 former teammates from Philadelphia. His younger brother still in the Philadelphia Union Academy, starting center back for the U16s. As Rocio, the MVP of the Generation Adidas Cup, now breaking into the box. The Mexican Youth International, and it's just wide of the far post. You see, though, Diego Rocio's quality from front to back there, and he's just wide of the go-ahead goal.
Much cleaner on the ball here, this East 11 to start the second half. Just look at how fluid they are right between the lines. And listen, I think there was an understanding of first half, do your job, absolutely, but struggling of kind of getting out of that comfort zone. Not the case whatsoever. Good depth, options and support to play off of each other.
Campanolo, fortunate to see that one go wide, and the West now trying to gather themselves a little here in this second half. But Chirilla is a fascinating story, comes from Philadelphia to Cincinnati, and he gets to Cincinnati, and on his trial, the coaches say, why don't you play center forward? Had been a midfielder his whole life, and now he's the Golden Boot leader. Now he's making his way into the pro ranks. It just shows the opportunity still for these players to be around high-level soccer people, as Rocio takes another strike into the arms of Campanola, to learn to adjust. You've said it a couple of times. We talk about commitment, we talk about pathways, but nothing locked in for players at this age.
No, I would even say that just keeping that mentality that regardless of age level or environment, that you have to be willing to expand yourself, right? You have to have the understanding that mentally you're going to be challenged. And you alluded to a couple of that guys that were here earlier when we were doing the Real Salt Lake interview, Justin Glad, Bodie Hidalgo as well. And although that Real Salt Lake team has done very well for themselves defensively, you're looking at guys that have played 5 different positions on the back line, even though they've been at the senior level, still being challenged, right? So sure, you want to be the top scorer. Yes, you want to be the best hand, the #1 goalkeeper and outside back, but that's not always where you're going to end up. It is a little bit ironic, though, because most guys move back.
Yep.
Usually it's,
very rarely the move to center
scored 14
forward.
goals in a game when I was 9, right? Then all of a sudden you've got the vision and you're a holding midfielder, and then pretty soon it goes down on the back line and tell us what to do.
Rocio flying forward once again. He's still looking for that goal. Lays it off, pushed out wide. The shot taken, Campanola with the save. And the West hanging on right now to this 2-2 tie. 2-2 tie thanks to the late first half stoppage time goal from NYCFC fullback Drew Baera, who's down on the field right now with Andrew Wiebe.
Thank you, Dave. Drew, big time goal late in that half, a 2-0 deficit, and you came roaring back. What'd you see on that play? How'd you finish?
No, I mean, my teammate played a great ball in behind. I ran onto it, just saw the goal in front of me, kept going, and I put the ball in the back of the net. So it was good to get back for the team and tie it 2-2 and celebrate with the boys.
What's it like to be a part of this all-star experience? Obviously, the big guys will do it on Wednesday, but these are your peers, the best of the best from MLS Next.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything. These guys are special. This atmosphere is great. See the fans come out and support us. But there's just a lot of quality around here, and I'm happy to see the high intensity in these games, as you can see here, 2-2 games. So, yeah, just keep it going.
Always a lot of talk about the pro pathway, and of course, you're along that. New York City 2, playing in MLS Next Pro. What is that level like? What has the adaptation been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, At first, the physicality is pretty hard to adapt to, but as you get in the game, you get more comfortable. My teammates have been great, support me. I go out there, and just at the end of the day, I played my game and let everything take care of itself.
What's the next step for you in your career? What are you working on? What are you thinking about?
Definitely my MLS debut. I've been rostered a couple times, but I definitely want to get out there in the big stage and prove myself.
The big time's coming, Drew. Congrats on the goal.
Thank you.
All right, guys, back to you.
Almost had the go-ahead goal for the Eastern Conference. Thanks once again to Drew Bayer for taking the time with us as this one comes all the way through. And the shot just over the crossbar on the backside. Diego Rocio exploding here to open this second half.
That whole trio for the East is having a little fun here 10 minutes into the second half. They talked about wanting the opportunity to play with each other. Rocio doing a really good job on the far side. And the exchange that we saw with Cavan Sullivan coming up through the midfield down into the corner. How's NYCFC, by the way? Avon Gray on one side, doing good things, working his way up through under Nick Cushing. You've got Drew Bayer on the other.
Christian McFarland.
I'm just going to say he wants to make his debut. Christian McFarland made his debut.
England Youth International as part of that NYCFC club. Joe Scally, of course, came through that academy as well. It's a good place to be a fullback.
Well, I was going to say with Joe Scally for sure, but that whole academy team that was Gio Reyna, Joe Scally, there was a list of 9 separate players that went professional in a 22-month span.
Yep.
That's a joke.
Yeah, Will Sands on the roster here in Columbus.
Both brothers.
Yep.
James. Will and James.
Yeah. What a special club. Trying to push some of the best young players, of course. Talent-rich region in the NYC tri-state area. They are trying to tap into, as well as in Philadelphia. As Cavan Sullivan just showing off right now. He breaks into the box. Sullivan has it knocked away. And we talked about in the first half for the East, who's going to lead? Who's going to sort of grab the team and carry them? You're asking the same question right now, and you have to think, Matteo Tsakiris is asking this question, for the West, who's going to step up in an uncomfortable environment and sort of carry the game for a moment?
I'm surprised we haven't seen a little bit more out of Moisa within the midfield, right? He's struggled to get some of the tempo of the game. Now, to be fair, they're playing a lot of it with their backs and chasing one direction. So when the tackles are being won, you're always surveying the other direction, trying to find exactly where the pressure is coming from and where you have the best opportunity to provide support for each other. But a good job right now just playing through the build. This is where they were at their best in the first half, winning some of those duels and then establishing a dominant possession in the final third to start to really tweak what was going forward for them attacking-wise.
Zogabe has it knocked off his foot. Yatu stepping forward. Arteaga now trying to sneak this one into the box. Arteaga with the outside of the foot. That one will go over everyone's head and into the safe hands of Sergei Balotsko. Balotsko with a big throw. The second ever Gachi goalkeeper to be selected for an MLS Next All-Star game in just 3 years. And you talked in the first half about the strikers and the FC Delcos of the world, the history of these clubs. Gachi, of course, one of them where for these young players, they carry that with them every time they step out on the field.
A good representation of kind of bringing this entire event together. That other goalkeeper, Charlie DeMarco, now at Georgetown under Brian Weiss. He'll be a freshman this fall and already made appearances with the Venezuelan U23 national team.
So Gabe, part of Michigan Jaguars, one of the big clubs in one of the talent-rich states. You talk about college soccer, what Michigan State has done, University of Michigan, of course, across the entire state, though, at some of the smaller schools as well. Zogabe now break into the attack. Soft layoff there. Not able to link up, but the foul will get called. You see the quality from Arena in the attack, the soft touch, and start to see a little bit why FC Dallas is so excited about that young player. And the free kick now will be coming, so Leo Orejorena standing over this one. Looks like it'll be his right foot to serve this one in. The three-man wall set up. We're into 15 minutes played in this second half. The East has been knocking on the door. Chance after chance, they've yet to break through though. Can the West shock them here maybe and steal a lead early on in this second half? Orejorena floats it in, flicked on at the far post, and Sosa almost able to pop up with the goal off that set piece. Joshua Sosa, one of the leading scorers in MLS Next with Barca residency in Arizona, 25 goals and 10 assists this season, as Sullivan now back onto the attack. Quick feet there, but West standing up defensively. Now Allen battling there with James, is able to hold it. Orejorena across. Now the big switch of the field from Arteaga. Etienne Vallard coming forward. Vallard converting to that fullback spot, was a GA Cup champion as a winger, playing up an age group with the U17s. And you talk about those moves of your career now, sort of identified as could be high-level national team fullback, and the club helping him make that transition over the last few months. Orejorena comes inside. His strike is blocked. It's alive in the box, and now it's finally cleared away by the East. Best young players in the region on display here. 2-2 in the first half. A ton of opportunities in this second half as well. Big collision on the top of the box, no call made. Now it'll be a free kick going the other way.
I like the activity on the front line, though, from Orejorena. FC Dallas product on this left flank. Doing a really good job of not just one-on-one down into the channel, but notice him into the pocket just in front of that back line. But as good as he's been, Elijah Roche, really good tracking at that center back position. The two outside backs coming really high, and McIntosh and Kiesel on the far side, so it's really isolated the two on the back line. Not really an issue, though. Done an excellent job of keeping a good amount of physical presence on the runs coming through, and then when needing, stepping up into that space in front of them.
Let's go down to the field now with MLS Next U17 champion Matteo Tsakiris alongside Andrew Wiebe.
Thank you, Dave. Matteo, hard-fought game here. What'd you make of that first half?
I thought first half was really good. I think we didn't get the result that we wanted, but started off pretty strong and got 2 early goals. And I think, fatigue started to set in, and we took 2 late goals that were pretty sloppy. But overall, I'm pretty proud of the guys and of the performance.
Every time I come to this game, I'm sort of wowed by the level of competition and the seriousness with which you guys take it. Yes, it's an all-star game. Yes, there's some fun to be had, but ultimately, both these teams want to win. What would it mean to get the dub here?
Honestly, it would be pretty special, to do it with my dad being the coach and both of our first times being here. So just to win it would be pretty cool.
And you're a winner, man. You just came off that U17 championship, MLS Next. How did it feel to lift the cup to get the job done?
Honestly, there's nothing like it, GA Cup, we got to the final and we lost that, so that one really hurt. So, going to the final and winning that really meant a lot for me and the guys.
We see your brother playing for San Jose in MLS and at the U20s right now. What can you take from his experience and apply to your own? Where are you trying to go?
Of course, super proud of him and, the journey that he's taken, but I think just the work that he puts on and does on the side, and when the cameras aren't on, just that work that he puts by himself and on those days off pushing himself, I think just to put in that extra day and those extra work to separate yourself from other guys.
Who should we be watching in the second half? Who do you got your eye on?
I think from the West Coast, I got to say Luca Moisa. He's looking pretty good, number 12 from RSL. And from the East Coast, got to have the big name Cavan Sullivan, future of the MLS. What a guy.
There you go, 2 players to watch. Matteo, thanks, man.
Of course.
Well, he's ready to work in PR, marketing, broadcasting, whatever it is. He knows how to sell it, and he talked about the experience he's having. His dad, his coach, his brother already making his debut. We talked about the Sullivan family. There are a lot of soccer royalties as Cavan Sullivan drives that one in on goal. So Matteo Tsakiris and his dad, Sean, the opportunity to represent the LA Galaxy here at the MLS Next All-Star Game as we take another look at this shot from Cavan Sullivan.
Certainly it's the poppy topic right now, right? Cavan Sullivan, but getting an idea of truly what he's capable of in an extended window. Not everybody gets to see him at the academy level, and certainly the debut was good, but it was a finite amount of time that we got to actually see him in action. And so the assets that he possesses, I am so impressed at how aggressive he is with the ball at his feet, the speed that he's able to carry with that. And so it's that initial touch to go and attack the game. It opens up that one little window. He bursts through it, and now all of a sudden you're dragging runners with you. You open up space for your teammates. Really well done by Cavan Sullivan to start this second half for the East All-Stars.
And he's always got an idea. A quick free kick taken. He dribbles forward. He's trying to sneak passes into the midfield unexpectedly as Rocio lays this one off. And a big opportunity, and that first shot for Kiesel.
Well, it's funny because he makes all the difficult stuff look easy and the easy stuff non-existent. He does things with his body, with the ball at his feet, or when he's off with his movements. These subtle little tendencies, the way he tweaks himself, right? He starts to shift a little bit. It makes defenders start to overindulge in one area when they're trying to defend in a one-on-one. And it also just adds layers to the game that as he's progressing himself moving forward, as a defender, you're questioning what that next movement from him is going to be because of his aggression and because of the way that he does so well with the ball at his feet.
He is a bright young prospect. A lot of people comparing him to Gio Reyna as we saw him come through the academy and his ability to sort of float through the game and be able to move at speed with the ball at his feet. Now you're starting to see a lot of that with Sullivan as well.
I would say this whole front line and then Sullivan underneath, who's been certainly given a little bit more freedom within the midfield conversation for Dan Locke in the Eastern All-Stars compared to Tony Dandanel or Aiden Torres. Just go chase a little bit, but Rocio, Chirilla, Quintanilla, they've all been very impressive the way that they've worked off of each other, and then one steps out, the other steps right back through.
When you talk about the embarrassment of riches for some of these clubs, Diego Rocio, he went on to win that GA Cup MVP alongside Cavan Sullivan. He had 5 goals all in the knockout rounds, including 2 in a match that Sullivan was suspended for. Anis Saidi, center forward for that team, captain of the U.S. youth national teams, Neil Pierre, the top prospects at the center back position, and Rocio showing what he's capable of once again. Rocio pushing the attack. He has it knocked away, and the tackle is clean. The East recovers, and now the whistle comes from Josh Bronstein, our head referee. And a free kick coming here for the Eastern Conference. Saw the West with an opportunity earlier in this half off a set piece. What can the East do now as they try and take advantage of this chance? A number of talented attackers out there on the field. It looks like it will fall to Stefan Chirilla to take this one now. As he walks this one off, a 4-man wall in front of him, trying to challenge Campanola in goal. The opportunity coming for the East, and his shot hits the wall as well. Second ball played in, but it will bounce and into the arms of Campagnolo. That great Campagnolo, USU 17 international goalkeeper, backstopping this team. Luca Tuya, the Houston Dynamo center back, trying to help build out for this squad. And Tate Lampman, 2 of the big prospects for Houston, both at that center back position, as now Chirilla's got space, looking for the pullback. He gets a teammate, the shot is blocked, and now Moisa will clear it out. The Western Conference hanging on by a fingernail right now.
I'll tell you what, I'd take Ty McLean in the Eastern back line in the first half, and told you to keep an eye on Ian James here in the second. Couple of movements back to back to back. This one, you know, as a center back, watch the way that he sets himself, even though Mokatuya comes over. Look at Ian James. That's what you want. You want your ability to turn your body into the match, get square, because then you can explode. You can go attack however you want. If you're turned to the side, you don't have the ability to contort your body and chase the play down.
All right, Harena, he has been the bright spark in the attack so far as Moises drives that shot. Matteo Tsakiris told us to keep an eye out for him. And his shot takes a deflection. It'll go out for a corner kick. The Western Conference will walk over to take this one. You can see Devin maybe taking a little bit of a breath here, reset their lines, reset themselves. They've been under pressure throughout this second half.
Well, I think I said it was going to be a different team and different half and a different look, right? So we had a Western Conference 11 in the first 45 minutes that was very attack-minded. They played the game up high. They're just having to adjust right now. Defensively, though, very stout. They've taken a lot of opportunities at them, parried them aside. Give them a lot of credit for that.
The header away there from McIntosh. Second chance here for Zogabe. It falls once again to McIntosh. Out to Rocio, and Rocio doesn't need to be asked twice to get out on the run. The foul in midfield on the ball. And it'll be a free kick coming for the East. And let's go down to Andrew Wiebe with the head coach of Crew 2, former Academy Director Kelvin Jones.
Thank you, Dave. It's an honor to stand here with you at historic Crew Stadium, Kelvin. What do you look for in a match like this? So many of these players already at the MLS Next Pro level, but as a head coach at that level, what do you look for in a game?
Yeah, in this game here, honestly, just let the kids have fun. It's a great opportunity. It's a great honor to be chosen to be in this match, in this event. And it's a culmination or a recognition of the hard work that they've done in their academies and sometimes in the Next Pro environment. So for them to come out here just to have fun and just showcase why they're here and get to play with players that they get to play against and get to meet and get to know, and it's a great opportunity just to enjoy the game.
Been in the business of developing players, have the passion for doing that. How have you seen the pro pathway and the resources given to these players as well as their quality change over the years?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be here almost 7 years now and to kind of grow as the league has grown and grown as the club has grown, and you can see the facilities, the resources that a lot of the pro clubs have, and not only necessarily the physical resources, the manpower and the attention to detail that everybody's allowed to afford to the players. So you look at this facility as well, just the history of football that's had in this facility, and this is home for our academy. This is home for our kids. So to be able to play in these places and to have the resources and the staff that they have, it's no surprise that the quality of players over the last few years is starting to rise.
Stefan Trilli over there with a shot blocked, but one of your heck is plausible, quote-unquote, enemies, let's say, Kelvin. Tell us about the two Crew players, though, that are in this game for you.
Yeah, so Chase Adams and Tristan Brown, who played in the first half. Two quality players that have been with us for a little bit of time. Tristan, we identified when he was 12, I believe, 12, 13, and has been with us probably for the last 4 or 5 years. And then Chase, we identified a few years back. But again, it's you have all of these resources, and they're great to have, but to truly get the most out of these resources, it's the players have to take advantage of them. And Tristan and Chase have done an unbelievable job in approaching their development, their joy to the game, to truly try to chase that dream to be a pro. And they've been fantastic for us in the second team environment, key parts to the group. And Chase on the attacking side, I believe, is put in 7 goals this year. So we just continue to do what we do and preach what we preach, and hopefully these guys will continue to progress through the pathway.
We've seen Crew 2 impact the first team numerous times, helping lead to a championship last year, an MLS Cup win. What's it like to work with Wilfred and to be into this club right now? It seems to be firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, it's a unique place. It's a truly special place. It's something I thought from the day one that I got here. This can and should be a really truly special place, and I think we're at a moment now where we're starting to see all of that come, and we're fortunate enough to be in an environment with Wilfred and his staff, and the vision for how we want to play and how we want to develop, and that trickles down not only from Wilfred to the second team, but down to the academy and our pre-academy. So the club alignment of what we're trying to do on the field and putting people in the right places to execute that vision, I think it's no secret, but you've got to find the right people to kind of execute that vision.
Special things happening in Columbus. Kelvin Jones right in the middle. Thank you, Kelvin.
Thank you.
Thank you to Kelvin Jones. David Goss with Devin Curran. Ohio native Sean Zawadzki here in the booth with us. We'll talk about the pathway. We'll talk about all of it. But let's talk about this week first. What does it mean to have the All-Star game in Columbus? What's it like to see all of these festivities going on and this city a chance to show off?
It's truly amazing. This city is incredible. It honestly, in my mind, slept on a little bit. for how great it really is. But the fans and the support that we have in Columbus is second to none. So to be able to see these events and to see the city get the recognition that it does is amazing to see.
You don't want the sleeping to stop, because then traffic gets bad and people figure it out, and that's a whole nother lesson as this one rolls through. We just heard Kelvin Jones talk about the pathway. You are an example of the pathway, working academy, college, and then through the 2 team. What is it like as a player as you step through those stages, and what have you seen now from the first team looking back down at how the pathway is built?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really lucky to the crew, to the organization for kind of trusting me through the whole process, starting when I was 14 years old, 8th grader, coming down to the academy from the Cleveland area, and kind of just trusting what they had for me, and then kind of had my time here and then went off to college, and then to be able to come back and play for the team I grew up supporting and playing for is amazing. And now seeing that kind of how everything's progressed, and from my days in the academy to now seeing how kind of involved everything is. You know, same facility. You get the academy kids training a lot with the first team. You get opportunities like that a lot. A lot of kids training with us in preseason and all that. So it's just kind of a huge all-one club.
We got a penalty kick coming. You don't see chances like that a lot. Stefan Cirillo with the rollover. He hits the near post, and then the foul called, the tackle on the far side. So it'll be a penalty kick coming up. Etienne Vaillard getting called for the foul, but what an opportunity here.
The freedom that we saw in the first half for the Western Conference is certainly the same that we're seeing on the front line for the East, specifically that front 3 and Cirillo, the way that they're able to attack this game. There's no real tendency for any of them, so they're out, they're down into the channel, and within that, the back line is having a little bit of trouble tracking where these runners are coming from. Cirillo in this situation just does a good job on the cutback across to open up the space for himself, and that's the mistake that I was talking about right there. Guys feel like in the moment they have to make a play, and Etienne Vaillard does a really good job of getting there, but leaving his feet just a tad bit late to create the contact.
So Diego Rossio and his Philadelphia Union team, Cavan Sullivan, with the conversation, and it will be the youngest debutant in MLS history, the youngest in U.S. team sport professional history. Cavan Sullivan, just a week after his MLS debut, he steps to the spot to try and put the Eastern Conference ahead here on this penalty in this second half. Sullivan steps up, and he slots it home. And the go-ahead goal, the East trail 2-0 in the first half, and Cavan Sullivan puts it in the back of the net, and they lead 3-2 here in the second half of the 2024 MLS Next All-Star Game.
Well, let's go back to the foul first, and the space that was created on the far side, then the ball back across. Again, just a little bit late. That freedom that I talked about, Sullivan and his recognition on the space on the far side. He's been very nearsighted on the right. Well done to assert himself up high on the second opportunity, and then just watch his hips as he starts to attack this. Credit to the cleats, by the way. Solid shot there on the Pradas, but the right foot, his body starts to lean to the right, and the way that he just opens his hips up off that majestic left wand of a foot in the back corner. They struggled in the opening 25 minutes, but it's been the East ever since.
And Cavan Sullivan coming on at halftime. He has led this team. Sean, what is it like to see a 14-year-old who's capable of doing these things?
Were you doing that?
Definitely was not. Jason Russell and I were talking about it maybe 15 minutes ago, and we were just seeing the confidence that he has on the field. It's incredible. Thinking back to my 14-year-old days, I don't think I thought I would be in this situation with him where he was at 14. I still trying to learn the game a little bit more, I would say, at the age of 14. But to see the way he carries himself and the way he plays, it's so much confidence that bleeds.
You have a very young team in Columbus. You have some really young players coming through. We see Taha Brun and Cole Moroka. As a player who has now established themselves, how do you try and help them and work their way in? Because Devin talked about the failures of young players and how they respond to that. As a first-team player, what's your responsibility?
Yeah, it's just to help those guys when they can. Every day after training, little nuances that you have in your own game that you can maybe help them establish a little bit, and just kind of sit down with the coaches and have them go through film and things of that nature. And I think it's just help them, because we're all in this together, and we just want the best for each other.
You know, the pathway that we talked about at the beginning, coming up through the academy, you go to Georgetown, Brian Weiss, that's the direction you went, right? Not everybody's going to get to be in this game. Not everybody's going to sign a homegrown right away. So what would your advice be to players that, listen, college is right for some guys. Not everybody's ready for that professional jump right away and to hone their skills in a different way. What would your advice be to players at home who maybe aren't necessarily seeing themselves as the next Cavan Sullivan, but certainly have a ton of talent?
Yeah, I think everyone's game develops at a different rate. And I think for me personally, going to Georgetown, it really helped me become more of a complete player, more of a physical player, and I think there's different, obviously some positives of going to college and different things you can learn from there, and I think it's unique to each player. Sometimes you go to college and you're looking to improve certain things, whereas you might be more developed for your age. So I think it's just kind of stick to it no matter what. People develop at different speeds and kind of go from there.
Let's bring your own experience, certainly your manager and Wilfred Nancy, and kind of the modern game into the conversation here. I always joke with Wilfred when we're coming into a scouting report, I'm like, Sean's not in goal this week, right? You let him play every position on the field but the 9 and the goalkeeping position. It's so important for players to understand their environment, their position, but also to be versatile, to be willing to step out of that comfort zone. Is that kind of maybe where you would kind of push guys to in this day and age? Don't get pigeonholed by one specific spot?
Yeah, I 100%. Because of the way soccer is now, if you get held down to one possession from a young age, you're kind of stuck in that. So I think if you're more versatile, you have more opportunities to play, first off, and it gives you the opportunity to step foot on the field and to play different positions and learn the game. And I think that's the biggest thing I've taken from the last year or so is the opportunity to learn the game from so many different positions and seeing, if I'm playing as a center midfielder, I know what to expect now as a right wing back or as from a 9, kind of being in those positions and playing in those same positions in games.
When you came on, we were watching Cavan Sullivan do a little work, have a strike from distance. Did you show Wilfred the volley from Georgetown? Said, listen, I can play the 9 too?
I don't know if you've seen it yet. Let's keep that in the back pocket for now still. Maybe one day pull it out.
Well, you can wait for Cucho to move on and go his route. We've seen Aiden Morris now move forward. You talk about playing a lot of different positions as the West now trying to break into attack, trying to find their feet, but a full-time starter, like that's the position you want. What's your mentality right now of this second half of the season and the opportunity you have in front of you?
Just to keep pushing, every day coming in the facility, wanting to get better in training, and we have a good team around us that everyone's ready to go. Everyone's ready to grind and to put in the work to continue to get where we want to be. From MLS Cup last year, that's the goal again this year. We're continued to have those high goals, and so it's good to have a little break here before Leagues Cup, but then it's just kind of back in the swing of things and ready for that stretch run.
It's not a break when you're in the booth with us.
Yeah, that's never a break when you're in the booth with us. An opportunity to go back-to-back. First team since the Galaxy about 10+ years ago. Is that a conversation behind the scenes at this point in time, or are the goals a little bit more immediate and then you get there?
We talk about a lot of kind of goals to get us to that point. We strive to achieve 14 wins and then to continue to go from there. 14 wins to hopefully, to get you into playoffs, and then every game after that, you keep striving to better yourself, put yourself in a better position when it comes time to get late in the season. So when it comes down time to get in the playoffs, hopefully we're there, and then it's just taking it game by game and to continue to put on for this city.
Do things like still very young professional career? We want to see it for generations to come, right? The Zawadzki bloodline keep going, but there is a point in time where a player their mindset starts to look at what could be. At this point in time in your career, does coaching have any interest to you, or we're not even thinking about that yet?
It's always something that's kind of been in the back of my mind, I would say, even though I'm still kind of young. It's just to be around the game, I think, is the most important thing to me, whether it's coaching or individual training sessions or something like that. Just being in the game and around it, I think, is kind of something that really is important to me because of how much the game means to me and kind of how much of my life has been devoted to it.
Besides, of course, what we're seeing with Wilfried Nancy, is there one coach from your life that you think back on or that was monumental for you?
Yeah, it was one of my very first coaches, actually, Oliver Condell from the Cleveland area. My first club was NEO, just stood for Northeast Ohio, and kind of rode with me from there into my second club in the Cleveland area, and then worked a lot with him individually to different things to help improve my game at a young age. And he's had just a tremendous impact on my life since a very young age, and then still today, still talk to him a lot and still communicate and just kind of check in every so often with him.
We talked a lot about how much coaches can impact young players and the opportunity there as Trilla called for the foul on the back end of this one. You won 2 trophies already, one in this building, one in the other building down the street. When those moments happen where it's over and you see people like that, or you see the community that you are a part of, what is the feeling for you bringing those trophies or those rings home?
It's just really emotional, especially for me kind of playing for Columbus for so long and now being in the first team ranks. It's just to see all the work that goes on, not only for us players, but for the staff and for this extra support that we have. It just means so much to everyone, and then to see the support from the fans in the city to be able to experience that and to give them something to celebrate like that, I think is amazing.
Let's talk about the season. I'm gonna push you into a corner here. I apologize. People have talked about your crew team as, if the tendencies continue and if you guys continue to be as incredible as you are on the ball, that maybe one of the best all time. Certainly an opportunity to go back-to-back, which we just talked about. But there is other competition around the league, right? Certainly you've got Inter Miami in the Eastern Conference. There's that team right down the road. May or may not be blue and orange. I won't say the name. It's like the Ohio State-Michigan thing, right? We don't discuss it. Then the Western Conference, LAFC. You guys just disposed of them. I guess when you look around at all of the opponents, is there any one that you feel like is maybe a little bit more threatening than others?
I mean, every team poses a threat, you know. As a club, and I think this is something Wilfried does really well, is we respect every team we play, no matter what, but we don't fear anyone. You know, we respect them, but we're going to go out there, we're going to stick to what we're capable of and play the way we play. But at the end of the day, we're not going to fear any team that's put in front of us, because we know what we're capable of.
Jason Russell-Rowe is ready to talk in Shantik all the time.
That's a quality PR answer.
Yeah, it was.
To depart the booth, by the way.
It was very central midfield. Keep the game moving, but keep things tidy.
Absolutely. Tighten it up. Let's just keep this moving, and we'll be fine, boys.
Well, enjoy running around with Darlington Nagbe over the course of the next few weeks. Thank you for taking the time to hang out with us and have fun.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
We are heading down the stretch here. A 3-2 lead right now for this Eastern Conference team. Cavan Sullivan right now is sitting on the winning goal for this Eastern Conference team. Devin, we've talked to a lot of people about their pathway, their experiences, what they see. It's been a really fun afternoon. What do you make of these players and what the future is?
Opportunity. I think one of the biggest buzzwords you need to take out of all of the conversations, certainly the experience that these players are getting in front of them, is about opportunity, because it didn't always exist, and certainly not necessarily at the highest of levels. If you listen to the Taylor Twellman interview at halftime, and he asked, what's fair, what's not fair, and he just said organization, right? MLS did a really good job of kind of organizing all of the assets that were there, because they were there. Right. There were pre-existing clubs like the Delcos, like the Strikers, right? They were already there. There were academies within MLS that were, their foundation was set. Yep. Maybe they just needed a nudge in certain areas, and I think that's where we've seen the most advancement over the past 24 to 36 months. It's just the organizational aspect to provide more opportunities to these young players.
MLS Next coming online after the fall. The USDA, because of COVID, and it has just grown and grown over the course of the last few years. And a very strong place for youth development going forward, and some great young players in the West right now trying to steal an equalizer. This ball floated in, it's cleared away. Moisa will run it down. We'll play it up the line. And the West creates something now. That shot blocked by McIntosh. Maillard stepping forward. Sullivan now with the clearance. Straight up into the sky and rolling around. Chirilla helped create the penalty earlier in the game. And he was looking for the big switch to his former Philadelphia Union teammate in Cavan Sullivan. those three up top. Rocio, Sullivan, as Rocio now picks up a lazy foul.
How much fun have they been to watch? I mean, certainly we've seen some great interchanges between people. That four, like that front three and Sullivan coming up through.
Whew. And that's the beauty for, I think, Philadelphia. The clear style, it's pressing, it's strong, it's physical. And then if you bring the best talent in the country into that, they can go and play and be creative. You don't need to build that in, which we've seen Jim Curtin be flexible with. You build the press, you build the defense, and then you just let talent fly.
Well, that's the biggest thing, right, is the idea for a coach. And Pep Guardiola, I heard him give this information to Thierry Henry. Henry gave it as a quote. It was basically they take you from the goal line to 30 yards from goal, and then your artistry has to come out. And Philadelphia does a really good job of that, of not just hunkering you down into one stylistic idea of play.
A corner kick coming here. We are entering second half stoppage time. We had a first half stoppage time goal for Baera. This one's off the crossbar and cleared away. The East now scrambling, and Sullivan comes away with it. Up into the path of Chirilla. The MLS Next MVP and Golden Boot winner. He puts it in the back of the net and seals the victory for the Eastern Conference. 34 goals in MLS Next play this year. The Golden Boot winner at the GA Cup. 5 goals in MLS Next Pro, and he adds an all-star goal on top of it to close out just a dream of a year for this young man.
What a movement from this team coming end to end. Look how deeply compressed they are. And Sullivan, as he pinches to the top side, they create the little 2v1. They don't see the overload of pressure. A little bit too aggressive off the back line from the defensive coverage. And then Sullivan, I'll tell you what, I actually thought he released the ball a little bit too early, to be fair. If he drags the runner with him at the next level, that's where you're going to find success. But the speed, the explosion by Chirilla into the final third to continue that run coming forward, and he gets the goalkeeper to pause. Campagnolo can do nothing as he gets his hips square. He cannot explode off that big frame as Chirilla drives one into the bottom corner. The #1 striker in the country, securing a victory for the East.
Pat Noonan said the way he takes the ball at the goal is very impressive. You know he's a goal scorer, and you saw it once again there. From almost 30 yards out, he recognizes where the goalkeeper is. He places it into the far corner, and after an early 2-0 lead for the Western Conference in the 14th minute, the East has stormed back, and they lead 4-2 here in second half stoppage time. So we saw in the first half for this East team, Nelson Hernandez a goal and an assist. Now Sullivan a goal and an assist in this second half. Torres to Chirilla. Chirilla closed down now. So West trying to keep the damage at a minimum. But the future clearly bright here in MLS and United States and Canada with these young players. Moisa now charges forward.
Good ball.
Played back out wide. Arteaga puts it in the box. Sosa lets it run. And it's all the way through and tapped out on the far side by Kiesel. Sosa worried he was in an offside position there. Young man who knows how to put it in the back of the net as well. 25 goals over the course of the season for him. Corner kick played in. This one's headed down. Safely into the hands of Bolotsky. And simply rolled out for the East, cruising in this game, but so much talent on display across the two teams. You mentioned the Eastern performance in the first half defensively. In the attack for the West, they were incredible. We saw some really good link up, especially with Eisenberg running that front line. McKenzie had a really bright first half as well. Tsakiris holding things down in central midfield too.
We have to remember also that these are players that are not together on a regular basis, although the front line of the East would tell you something different, right? The way that they've been able to collaborate together, but two very different looks for both of these teams. The aggression and attack-minded squad of the West in the first half, a little bit more structured defensively, struggled to really grab any sort of momentum in the second half. And the East, who they were pinned down deep and just did a good job of regaining momentum to allow this team that feels much more comfortable on the ball in the second half, and certainly the willingness to push the tempo up high. Great creation of opportunities, 4 goals straight. Both managers will be happy with certainly what they've seen from their players, whether it be individual or the collective overall.
Cavan Sullivan flying forward. He has it tackled away. Sullivan trying to put his trademark move on there. See the quality of a young man. Rumors are abound about all the different big clubs around the world that want him to play for them. But for now, it will be the Philadelphia Union, the club of his hometown, the club of his older brother, that he will carry that jersey forward after making his debut in MLS last week. But he's not the only star. Devin, as we said, a lot of players from a moment like this popping out, a lot of really strong performances across these two teams, and players that you could see, especially with Leagues Cup coming up, get opportunities around the first team.
I can tell you firsthand knowledge that many a manager that I've spoken to on MLS season pass games on Apple TV over the past couple of weeks have said directly that we are going to utilize a bunch of our two-team players and academy loanees to give them an opportunity for not just experience, David, but to give the first team guys a break. One of the difficult things they're going to run into is they have these 3 games, and then boom, they don't know what that window looks like. So a great chance, not just in this All-Star game, but in the future weeks coming with the addition of Leagues Cup to get more experience under their belt.
A big summer coming up for a lot of these young players, a huge year. This is the close of the 2023-24 MLS Next season. We saw 4 different champions across the MLS Next Cup, 4 different age groups. We saw, of course, 2 Generation Adidas Cup champions as well earlier this year, and now the Eastern Conference, the MLS Next All-Star winners, Devin, and a deserved victory.
They were very good, and again, it was the way that they had to play the game in such a variety of ways. Again, I say had because the West was incredible, truly, for the opening 25 minutes. But the theme on the day has not just been about opportunity and organization, but the understanding that you have to change. That could be your path to pro. It could certainly be your profile of player, but today it was within the match itself and how you had to go and find success. So a lot of credit to the East squad, and certainly Dan Locke, the communication on the sideline. I know Taylor Twellman's going to want a little love. He said the opportunities were there, deservedly so. High XG, they grabbed 4 goals after conceding the first 2, but all around, a beautiful display of some of the best and brightest that American soccer has to offer at the academy level.
We saw Taylor during the hydration break talking to Stefan Chirilla about his movement, about his opportunities to center forward. Chirilla put that late one away, and you can see why he was the MVP of the entire MLS Next, why he already has 5 goals in MLS Next Pro as a 17-year-old.
I actually thought your shout after we kind of gave you the bird's eye of what the goal looked like was probably the best explanation, which is funny because that's supposed to be my job, right? But you talked about him pulling.
But I'm developing a pathway.
He lets it fly from distance, right? One of the things that happened in that play for Chirilla was Sullivan plays it a little early, which at the pro level, you want him to prolong that, but the ball comes to the striker. His smarts to understand that if he took another touch, defender gets a little bit closer, the angle on the goalkeeper gets a little bit smaller, that distance, the pace, his ability to pick out the bottom corner to create the 4th of the night, and just add another notch on the belt for all the goals that he's been able to compile over the year. Very impressive.
It's got to feel a little bit good on the field where his team took a huge loss as well this Sunday. So a bounce back moment for him. A lot of these young players, if you want to say, where can we see them? What's next? We talked about Leagues Cup. We talked about the opportunity, but MLS Next Pro is the spot. If you want to say in 5 years, oh, you know Gio Reyna, I watched this player come up. I watched this player develop. This is your opportunity to jump into the MLS Next Pro broadcast across Apple TV, of course, and you can watch all these players play.
28 different academies overall, and we said that it includes 6 different MLS Next academies that are represented. Certainly the Delco boys looked very impressive on the night. Cavan Sullivan said coming in, I'm really excited to look at A, B, and C, one of which was Capretto on the front line, who plays for FC Delco, right? So it wasn't just the 28, it's FC Delco, it's Albion, you had Barca residency, Gacci was involved in their PDA, and then strikers out of California. Very impressive what they were able to do.
And of course, we got the team photos coming for these players, and we are going to have an opportunity after that to talk to our man of the match, you got to give a shout out to Nelson Hernandez. That first half, the goal he scores, and we asked, who would help this East team? Who would carry them? Who would take them out of this? Nelson Hernandez had that goal. Then he makes the play. He has the assist. A goal and an assist, you normally think you're safe to get man of the match, but not on a day like this, because Cavan Sullivan came off the bench. He added a goal and an assist, including the match winner, and he's now down with our own Andrew Wiebe.
Thank you, Dave. Cavan Sullivan coming off a jam-packed month. Add MLS Next All-Star Game Man of the Match to that list. What did it mean to you to come in and impact the game in the second half and lead your team to a win?
East is the best. What can I say? No, it was awesome. Great experience. It was a hot one. I'm a little bit dead, but great from the first half guys to tie it back up, and then from there the second half guys took over. Nice win.
Penalty for you, and then you fed Stefan for that second goal that clinched it. I heard you wanted to play with him. You guys used to play in the Union Academy together.
Yeah, that's my boy. We played back in our U14 and U15 years, so we have sort of a connection. Yeah, he gave me one off the post, and I gave him one back, so good link up, I guess.
As people watch this game and think about this next generation of talent coming after MLS Next, going into Next Pro, and like you, MLS someday, what should they know about these kids, about where they're going?
Yeah, I think there's a stigma in the rest of the world that America's behind, but in reality we're not, and these kids have the talent. As long as myself, I think as a group we could go places, and I think this is the next generation. Is what's going to do it for the U.S.
What are you looking forward to the rest of All-Star Week?
Man, I got to fly home, return to Philly, so I don't know. I don't got much more time here, so I'm just going to cherish it.
Bigger things coming for you. What are you focused on the rest of the season with the Union?
Yeah, I would say just, I guess, next game's Leagues Cup, so focus on that. And then after that, playoff spot. I know Philly's a hard team in the playoffs, so I know we can do it with the fans behind our back, so I'm excited for the rest of the season.
Congratulations, Kevin.
Thank you for having me.
What a legend. Cavan Sullivan, already the youngest debutant in MLS history. He is carrying this Eastern Conference team. And what a quote. What a guy to hang out with as well. A beautiful performance. The best young players in the world on display. And a big thank you from us for all of the different guests we've had. Sean Zawadzki, Christian Ramirez, Kelvin Jones, Matteo Tsakiris, Luca Moisa, Taylor Twellman, Diego Valeri, Andrew Wiebe, Devin Kerr, and from myself, David Goss. You have been watching the 2024 MLS Next All-Star Game presented by Allstate. The future is bright, and it's a 4-2 victory by Cavan Sullivan and the Eastern Conference over the West.